So you're about to watch a clip of the excellent Krystal Ball and Piers both take on Clay Travis, who is avowedly pro-Israel can do nothing wrong, and everything is the fault of Hamas. Take a listen, and we'll catch up afterwards.
Okay, well, let's just pivot, if we can, to Gaza. Megyn Kelly earlier, Clay, was saying enough is enough. Whether you supported Israel at the start of this, as she did and I did, this has gone on too long. It's too painful. The disproportionate scale of what is happening now is turning Israel into a global pariah. And I completely agree with her. I just feel like someone like me who has always supported Israel, has a lot of Israeli friends, Jewish friends. Every day this continues, with all these images coming out of Gaza now, starving children, and the endless civilian deaths are being recorded every day. The worse this gets for Israel, and I think for the security of Jews around the world. And it shouldn't do, but it is. Do you agree, Clay, that the time has come that this is brought to an end?
Well, I think Hamas is a suicide cult. And the problem is they're not behaving in a rational fashion, which I think is what President Trump has kind of just thrown up his hands about, is they see the destruction of Gaza and the suffering of their people as good for them politically because of what you just laid out. There is no rationality associated with their decision making. So how do you negotiate peace with a suicidal cult? I think that's the challenge that Israel has found itself in the midst of. And I think there is no good solution at this point in the wake of what they did on October 7th, which basically created the seeds of their own destruction. And I think the analogy here is you can either go to Pearl Harbor or you can go to 9/11, where you had a sneak attack that initially appeared that it was going to be profoundly successful, that actually led to the utter destruction of the people who engaged in the sneak attack. And if you go back and look at what happened to Japan, or you go back and look at what happened to everyone associated with Al-Qaeda in the wake of 9/11, it's been an unmitigated disaster. And I think ultimately, Piers, the challenge is, I think everybody wants there to be less kids dying. I think everybody wants there to be peace in the Middle East of rational, good, sound mind. The problem is Hamas is not a rational, sound actor, and they are, in fact, a suicide cult. So how do you negotiate with them? But I truly believe they see this as politically beneficial to them. They're restricting the distribution of aid to the people who need it. They're sometimes killing people when they're trying to take it. So I think we're in a position where it's the United States or it's Israel.
The problem, Clay, with that is, as the New York Times reported at the weekend, there is no actual proof that it's Hamas that has been preventing this UN aid getting through to the Gaza.
I believe the evidence is pretty clear that Hamas is not acting in the best interests of the people that are living in Gaza, and it's profoundly unfortunate.
Well, that is indisputable.
The political will
that is indisputable. I'm talking about the issue of the aid. And the truth is, nearly 1,000, or maybe more than 1,000 now, Gazans have been killed in these lines, waiting for aid. And the reality is that the vast majority have been killed by the IDF. And the IDF says, well, we were firing warning shots, or people were moving towards us in a threatening way, or whatever it is. There's always some excuse. We're going to launch an investigation. We're going to do this, do that, and nothing ever happens. And the truth, this is why Israel's reputation is plummeting around the world, because people see thousands of starving Gazans, population of 2 million where half are under 18. They're starving, hungry. We're seeing emaciated, we've got the 40th anniversary of Live Aid. These are scenes reminiscent now of what we saw in Ethiopia when Bob Geldof rallied the world. And I just don't see how any of this is a win for Israel. It just every day Israel's reputation is damaged.
I think the challenge is, how do you end it? And I think the challenge is, if you don't have a rational political actor on the other side to negotiate with.
This is so ridiculous, because
they still have hostages.
They don't give a shit about the hostages, Clay. They're starving the hostages. They're bombing the hostages. The hostages have been emotional blackmail. It's a lie. They admit they don't give a shit about the hostages. Ask the hostage families. Ask the hostage families about how much Netanyahu cares about the hostages.
I've been to Israel and talked to the hostage families.
You ask, how do you negotiate with Hamas? Guess what? The Trump administration can answer that question because they did it. They negotiated a ceasefire. And guess who blew that ceasefire up?
Just said they have no interest in peace. We don't even know how to negotiate.
Guess who blew that ceasefire up? Guess who blew that ceasefire up? It wasn't Hamas. It was Israel. And greenlit by the Trump administration, which has allowed Bibi Netanyahu and his psycho far-right ministers who are openly announcing that their plan is complete starvation and ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. That is their plan. It's not some mystery what's going on here. They had to engineer over months, over years at this point, a complete famine. Over the past 24 hours, 14 more people have starved to death. Do you know how hard it is to starve an entire population?
Yeah, someone should ask Hamas why they're allowing
your butt Hamas bullshit is so tired. Israel never, they could never be in the wrong. It could never be that they intentionally want to have a final solution here and cleanse as they do.
And they have no interest in the people of Gaza. Hamas does not.
Smotrich, who is an Israeli minister, just announced there should be no aid sent into Gaza, just shells. That's it. They have openly announced their plans to ethnically cleanse the entire Gaza Strip. Is that okay with you? Are you okay with innocent women and children who are not Hamas? Babies who are starving before they even say their first word?
No one wants innocent people to die of rational
Then why are you running cover for them?
I'm not running
cover for them. Then why
are
you running cover for them? Yes, you are. Obviously, you are. You just lied about Hamas stealing the aid and trying to kill people who are getting aid. What a bunch of lies and bullshit.
This is the idea that
there is the Israeli military said that's not true.
The ability to call
Israeli military.
Hamas is evil.
The Israeli military said that's not true.
Do you think Hamas is evil?
I think killing innocent civilians is evil. And I'm willing to say it when it's Hamas who did it on October 7th, and I'm willing to say it when it's our government funding a genocide in the Gaza Strip.
Intentional terroristic killing, which is what Hamas did, and trying to negotiate peace with terrorists, which is what Israeli leaders are doing.
What makes you think that the Israelis are intentionally negotiating peace? There is no sign of that whatsoever.
There is
none at all.
Only safe place in the Middle East where you have basic human rights is Israel.
Clay, do you think that just all of the Gaza Strip being turned into rubble, churches, mosques,
hit all
hospitals,
of their terrorists
all being destroyed? It's just an accident. It's just an accident.
Places as they can. Hamas is to blame for all of it.
Please, please, this is so tired. No one believes this anymore.
Let me jump in.
Your own party doesn't believe this anymore.
Let me jump in. I would make the point, Clay, that I totally agree with everything you say about Hamas. But the problem is, Israel should be better than Hamas.
But
Israel
who can they
should show
negotiate
more humanity.
With here? This is the challenge.
Well, here's my point.
Here's
my point. Israel, as the only democracy in the Middle East, should be showing the world what humanity actually looks like. They shouldn't be replicating the lack of humanity that Hamas show. Everybody knows Hamas are a inhumane terrorist organization.
Challenge that Israel
so for Israel to behave in a way that appears to be as inhumane towards starving children, innocent women being killed in huge numbers, all of this happening, this is inhumane. And I don't think it suits Israel's purposes, either in getting rid of Hamas, which they can't appear to do, getting the hostages released, which they can't appear to do, or in enhancing their reputation around the world. It's having the opposite effect. And so I say this as a friend of Israel, enough. You've got to stop this. You know, I messaged Netanyahu today on X and said, you've got to start starving children. You have to. Otherwise, the end result for Israel will be catastrophic.
I think the challenge they have is the minute they step out of controlling and patrolling Gaza and trying to in some way keep Hamas from coming back into power, the people who live there are going to allow Hamas to return to power. And so there needs to be, in my opinion, a solution that removes Hamas from leadership in Gaza for all time. If that means that you have to bring in other Arab countries that are also opposed to Hamas, which is many of them now, and thanks to a weakened Iran, there is no supplement that is going to continue to uplift Hamas in Gaza. That to me feels like the long-term solution.
Can I say something
States can be helpful in that?
Okay, I want to just
really
hang on, Krystal.
Just one thing. Very
I want to just
Piers, this is important.
Yeah, very quickly. I want to move on to something else.
In the last peace negotiations, Hamas agreed to step down from political leadership. They agreed to that in the peace negotiations. You can check Jeremy Scahill, Drop Sites reporting on all of this. And the Israelis said, we don't want that. Bibi Netanyahu has loved having Hamas there. He flew to Qatar to make sure that they were still getting their money, because he always wants to be able to say there is no partner for peace. So let's deal in facts and reality here. The Israelis have decided they want to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip. That is the plan they're putting into place. They're announcing it, Clay. You don't have to believe me. You can listen to them. Listen to what they're saying. The starvation plan.
If they were, they could have killed the 2 million people immediately.
The head of Mossad. The head of Mossad.
If they wanted to.
You know what? I actually think, if I could jump in, Krystal, if I can jump in, I actually think, Clay, when you listen to what Smodrich said 3 weeks ago on camera, he made it absolutely clear what he wants, which is to, in his words, cleanse Gaza of Palestinians. I now watch them pushing the Palestinian population into a smaller and smaller part of the Gaza Strip. They've demolished 70% of it, making it uninhabitable. I think it is crystal clear now that there is a movement in the Israeli government to get rid of the Palestinians from Gaza and move them into neighboring Arab countries. And some of them are saying it openly. And the actions on the ground suggest that is exactly what they want to do. And I say that as somebody who, when people said this was the real plan all along, I used to...
Wiping out everyone they could have done immediately.
I think they want to get the Palestinians out of Gaza now. And if they do that, it is a war crime and it's ethnic cleansing.
So I'm really not in agreement with Clay Travis about starting with Hamas. I don't think you need to start with Hamas at this point. It's quite clear that Bibi Netanyahu and his far-right government are not interested in negotiating peace. Now, that's not to say Hamas are, but it's currently Netanyahu's far-right government that are raining bombs down on Gaza, that are starving children in Gaza. So I think to start with Hamas in this instance, particularly when Netanyahu has already said that they are not going to stop their campaign to root Hamas out, even if the hostages are released, is a classic issue in this debate, especially on the right. Also, for Clay to say that Israel are distributing aid when it's been proven many, many times that they have restricted the flow of aid is quite frustrating. And this is the thing. You have one side of the debate that are constantly believing Israel's propaganda, and then the other side of the debate who are taking their lead from all of the aid agencies and all of the people who are managing to see what's going on there. And the tactic of saying, do you think Hamas is evil? Do you think Hamas is evil? It's really quite childish. I think anybody serious at this point understands that Hamas is a suicidal cult. And they definitely don't have the interests of the Palestinian people at heart. But it's still within the Israelis' right to bring this situation to an end. And they can do so, but the problem is they don't have the willpower to do so. Smotrich, Ben Gvir, they do not want a Palestinian state. They do not care about the Palestinian people. They want to wipe the Palestinian people out. And yes, while I definitely appreciate Piers' stance on the Gaza issue now, it does always make me laugh when people say, oh, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Technically it is, on paper it is, but I must remind you that Benjamin Netanyahu has been the Prime Minister for coming close to 20 years now. You know, he's repeatedly been elected on the back of stoking up the fear of Hamas and the Palestinians. And also you have to remember that Benjamin Netanyahu is under investigation for numerous charges of corruption. He does not want any of this conflict to go away quickly, which is why he's happy to prolong it. He is more than happy to prolong this. You know, they're bombing Lebanon, they're bombing Syria, they're bombing Iran, they're bombing everywhere in the Middle East, almost everywhere, because Netanyahu needs to prolong this for his own political survival and potentially his freedom. He's potentially facing a prison charge. And this is the biggest issue. They are starving people just so that Bibi Netanyahu can survive. I'm really interested to hear your guys' opinions. Please like the video, please drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.